Hi everyone, and welcome to a very special episode of Square Roots. I'm your host, Johnny Brandon, and with me right now is Vanessa.
I'm Vanessa.
Exactly.
Johnny.
Yeah?
What makes this episode so special?
It's an Oops All Listeners episode, Vanessa.
What does that mean?
It means that we got some listeners to record stuff, and we're going to throw it in there. And I've listened through it to make sure there's nothing too weird in there. Only the good kind of weird.
Our listeners would never send us anything weird. They're a bunch of normies. I looked up the definition of normcore in the dictionary, and it said, see also Square Roots listeners.
Wow. No, they are edgy. They are avant-garde. They are on the cusp of cutting edge thought. Mm-hmm. They are with it. They're happening.
Are they hip?
They are hip.
Nice.
So, really, they are doing us a favor.
That's true, because I looked up the definition of normcore in the dictionary, and it said, see also Vanessa.
First up, we have Gabe and his pitch for why we should be playing Wild Arms.
Hey there, Scooters. Gabe Kleinart here, longtime listener and big fan of the show. For years, I've been hoping you all would cover Wild Arms, one of my favorite games, so here's my impassioned pitch. I hear many of you saying, but Gabe, what is Wild Arms? Well, Wild Arms is a Western RPG for the PS1. When I say that, I don't mean it's a Western RPG. This isn't Skyrim or Fallout or Diablo. It's very much a traditional JRPG, but it's a JRPG with a strong Western feel. Its setting and its characters are meant to be reminiscent of the Old West, mixed with a bit of JRPG flair. Wild Arms follows three drifters, thrill-seeking adventurers, who get caught up in a plot with a group of demons seeking to destroy the world of Filgaia and feed it to their mother. The first of our characters is Rudy, a silent protagonist who wields an arm, that is, a gun. And Rudy is fairly stock standard at first. I actually don't know why they made him a silent protagonist, but his true nature and his connection with his arm turn out to make him a bit closer to the demons than you might think. The second character is Jack, an ex-knight turned treasure hunter who travels with his pet mouse Handpan, because you gotta have a mascot somewhere, I guess, until the demons of his past turn up to haunt him. And the third character is Cecilia, the heir to the royal family, whose magic lets her communicate with the Guardians, the spirits that connect and nourish the world and are being killed off by the approaching demons. Now, gameplay-wise, it's a standard JRPG. You walk around on an overworld, you transition to a city, talk to NPCs, random battles, the whole shebang. When you're walking around a city or a dungeon, each character has tools that they pick up along the way that let you interact with your environment. Bombs to blow up obstacles, a pet mouse that can grab items from far away, a magic clock that will reset a room. And you use these tools to find items, but more importantly, you use them to solve puzzles. There's some great puzzles in this game that you have to learn the ins and outs of your various tools to use them to the best of your ability. In combat, however, each character has their own special abilities. Rudy has guns, Jack has special sword techniques, Cecilia has tons of magic spells, and each one can be customized and enhanced to make each character as powerful or as unique as you want. And if the game is too hard for you, there's a very easy item duplication glitch that you can use to get you through some of those tough parts. Don't worry, I won't tell anybody. Now, what's so good about this game, you ask? The story that I mentioned wasn't super complicated. Demons want to destroy the world, yada, yada, yada. But the thing about Wild Arms that always makes me praise it is that there's seriously 10 points where you can really feel like, okay, this is the final battle. And then you find out, no, there's so much more game left. I kid you not, when I first played this game, I got about 5 hours in. The demons attacked the kingdom. I fought a tough boss. And then the credits started to roll. And I thought, is that seriously it? How is this game so short? The instruction manual is 100 pages. And I'm not kidding. It came in a jewel case the size of the Final Fantasy VII case, even though Wild Arms only has one disc, because the instruction manual was that long. But no, it turned out those weren't the ending credits. Those were the opening credits. So this game is really, really long, but in a good way. The plot takes so many twists and turns. You get so many cool powers and tools. And my favorite part, there is a ton of endgame content. You know how most modern RPGs have an optional super boss or two? Wild Arms has like 10. Some can be fought right out of the box, and some you really have to build up your characters and build up your strategies. And most importantly, each one gives you something significant, unlike other JRPGs where your only reward is a sticker that says, I beat the boss. Also, I love the gameplay. The puzzles are great, exploring dungeons is fun and intuitive, and I love the graphics, the out-of-combat graphics, that is, because they're as smooth and as colorful as can be in the pixel style that the game is. The game actually got a full-on remake on the PS2. It was called Wild Arms Alter Code F, and although it plays basically identically to the first one, it changed the game to 3D polygons, and in my opinion, the game just looked bland and generic. Now, one more thing that's great, the music. The music is freaking amazing. Seriously, once you're done listening to this, watch the Wild Arms opening cinematic. It's legit one of my favorite pieces of music ever, and it perfectly fits the tone of the game. Now, what's bad about this game? I can't deny it. The battle graphics are terrible. Like really, really terrible. In battle, it's early 3D polygons, and they really look like early 3D polygons. The combat itself is fine, but the graphics will definitely turn some people away. The rest of the game just looks so smooth and good, and then you get into battle, and it's just puke. Closing thoughts, Wild Arms is great. On most days, I would consider it my favorite PS1 RPG. I mentioned it got a remake, and the remake is good and all. It adds a ton of extra content, but it lacks a lot of the charm the original had, and they started to streamline the series by that point, and it just wasn't the same. Wild Arms is just such a good game, though, with such a great soundtrack and so many fun things to do in it. I think everyone should play this game. So that's all for me. Once again, this has been Gabe Kleinart. Have a great day, and have a great game.
Hi there, this is Julian Titus, host of the Nerds Without Pants podcast, and I had a question for the Sierra Roots crowd. I wanted to know, what was your first Sierra game? Mine was King's Quest VI. It was one of the only PC games that I was able to get when we first got our PC, and it was the first game that I'd ever seen with fully voiced dialogue, and it kind of blew me away at the time with that CD-ROM technology, and it ushered in my love of voice actor Tony Jay that extends to this day as I replay through Soul Reaver 2 for a guest spot on another podcast called Games My Mom Found. So I just wanted to hear from all of the Sierra Roots. What is your first Sierra game? And that's the end of the bit. It's Julian here. Thanks a lot, guys. Love what you guys do, and this is sure to be a really fun episode. And also just a quick shout out to the listeners of Square Roots. Hey, come on by and check out Nerds Without Pants and interact with us. We're doing a lot of fun stuff over there, and we'd love to get some new voices chipping in on our segments for Stage Select and Video Game Cage Match. Thanks. Bye.
You're right, Vanessa. You've helped me see that I've been trying just too hard. I've been spending so much time looking for a bear to smooch that I haven't thought about myself. What I need is to smooch my own heart. I see that now.
Hey everybody, this is G. Bailey, and I'm here to tell everyone why in 2020, the year so twice we named it twice, the Square Roots podcast needs to play Suikoden 2. So I know some of the hosts were less than impressed with Suikoden 1, but the first game walked so that Suikoden 2 could run. There's a lot of reasons why Suikoden 2 has a reputation as a lesser known masterpiece, so allow me to list just some of them. Number 1, quality of life improvements. Almost everything in Suikoden 2 is improved from the first game. Inventory management, it's streamlined. Rune management. Characters can get up to 3 rune slots based on their stats, which allows much more customization and freedom. A run button? Yes, you no longer need a rune to run. Speaking of runes, Suikoden 2 introduces team-up magic attacks. Some of the highest elemental spells can be combined to devastating effect in beautiful magic sequences. In fact, all of the effects, sprite work, and art is a huge upgrade from the first game, and is really one of the best looking 2D RPGs on any console. Number 2, the characters. Just like every Suikoden game, here you will be collecting the 108 Stars of Destiny, many of the most fun and memorable in the entire series. Knights, elves, pirates, ninjas, animal companions, squirrels, and more. This includes returning characters from the first game, expanding their story in satisfying ways. Beloved friends, hated enemies, and enigmatic loners pop up to really connect the two stories and expand the world. That's not to say it relies solely on the first game's nostalgia. The main hero and his friends Jowie and Nanami make up the heart of the story. Their friendship is much stronger and deeper than the bonds of the first game's hero. Every twist and turn is impactful, emotional, and makes the story truly meaningful. And I haven't even mentioned the villain. Suikoden 2 introduces us to Luca Blight. Blight rightfully ranks high on the lists of top RPG villains. His scenes are horrifying, his evil palpable, and he will stay with you after playing this game. Number 3. The music. Suikoden as a series has some truly amazing music, and Suikoden 2 is among the best. Miki Higashino returns from the first game to compose almost all of the songs in the sequel, and she knocks it out of the park. From the hauntingly beautiful Reminiscence in the opening credits, to the lighthearted and triumphant Beautiful Morning, to one of the greatest boss battle themes ever that I won't name due to spoilers. Suikoden 2's soundtrack was one of the best, not only on the PS1, but in any JRPG. There's so much more to say, and I can't cover everything. So let me just remind everyone of the awesome 6 character party battles, the duels, the army engagements, the fact that you can import your save from the first game, carrying over things like levels, items, and if you got all 108 Stars of Destiny in the first game, you even get to import your hero from Suikoden 1 to join your party. In a year of sequels, Suikoden 2 might be the sequelist of sequels, and deserves to be played in 2020. Thank you.
You know, you're right. I always say cool beans. That's because I've been ignoring how hot my beans really are. Maybe they'll be cool one day, but not right now. You've taught me that. Thank you.
Testing. Why hello, it's Superfan Andrew here, coming to you live from my armchair, in my living room, in my apartment, somewhere. And I have a kitty on my lap. I'm here to talk about some things I love. In particular, podcasts and stuff. Let us start with Turtles Paradise, the creation of Meet Dimension TJ, and Chris Cy Wildfire, and their amazing streaming thing going now, where they are doing all of Final Fantasy XIV, just as they did Final Fantasy XI. Be sure to listen to them. Meet Dimension TJ on Twitch, and on the Twitters, Cy Wildfire, the same. Also, pester them until they give us Final Fantasy Tactics Episode 2. Next up, let's go with the Every F&F podcast. I've been enjoying them. They have done Final Fantasy VII and Final Fantasy 1, and now they have just started Final Fantasy X, and it's interesting. They're fun. They're funny. Enjoy them. Watch them. Listen to them. Whatever it is. Then we've got the No One Can Know About This podcast, where the hosts, Jeff and Ryan, are most definitely masochists, which is good, because much of their fans are statists, currently doing Final Fantasy II, the original version. Listen to them and watch them now go through hell. It's fun. Let's see. Next up, Dragon Quest FM. Dragon Questin, whatever you call it, and Professor Beach have been playing Dragon Quest games, and I have been enjoying their interesting conversations. Go check them out. Next on the list, Chasing Chocobos. Three brothers try and go through every single Final Fantasy, and right now they're in 7. They can use some nice support in these trying times. So go off and help the Choco Bros feel good about themselves and their work. What's next on the list? Oh yeah, Mega 10 Marathon. Can't forget that. They're amazing. Going through the Shin Megami Tensei games and their various offshoot spin-offs, and have been very enjoyable. I think that's the big things at the moment. Anyways, hope you're enjoying yourselves here, Square Rooters. Me, I am too. And if you want to see all the interesting stuff I've been a part of, or not so interesting stuff, you can check me out at Generic Fighter upon the Twitters, and honestly, pretty much everywhere else. I think that's it. Come on, Nightshade. Give him a nice meow. She's not going to cooperate then. Alright, well, everyone, have fun with Persona 4 and the future. Oh, and play Disgaea sometime. Awesome. Awesome series. Bye.
You're wrong. I'm not going to stop vaping because I have to vape. I need to vape. I need to vape justice. I need to make sweet clouds out of inequality, cotton candy out of poverty. I'll never stop vaping, and you've shown me what I should really vape. I'll vape the truth.
Hey Square Roots fam, Darren Zombie Rogers here to talk about the incredible designs of one of my favorite games ever, Dark Souls. But before I do, I'd like to take a minute to level up, because I've just finished rewatching Avatar: The Last Airbender on Netflix, and it's one of the greatest shows to have ever been made. And anybody like myself who's gotten slightly claustrophobic would really enjoy this watch. Now to the topic at hand. Pathing in Dark Souls kinda works like the Olympic rings, overlapping and intersecting. But instead of the 5 Olympic rings, there's like 30 of them, shaped like a spooky skeleton. You struggle and fight through places like the Undeadburg and are rewarded with a simple but effective ladder, allowing you to bypass everything you've just done. It's kinda like the Dark Souls equivalent of a gold star. Great job, you. Moving up and down, you almost always see what's ahead of you, and the game does a great job of building suspense and a sense of accomplishment even-handedly. This happens in almost all areas, most notably Anor Londo, with its infamous ledge archers that you both see and hear a mile away, conveniently just outside of their range. Now compare that to Blighttown, a place that gives you the feeling of jumping into a boiling vat of sewage. Or, as my dumb brain loved to pronounce it in several of the outtakes that you won't hear, stewage, because I'm great at words. For the most part, Blighttown is a linear climb down wooden scaffolding covered in gross green darkness and feces. It's treacherous throughout and has a number of enemies placed in just the right spots to either be out of view or move close enough to you that your character just kind of falls off the already precarious footing. It's kind of like walking down the busy New York streets, and if somebody even slightly grazes your shoulder, you explode. You never return to the spot you start in, and even the shortcut isn't very safe or short for that matter. You almost as often as not end up dead, because it's a FromSoft game and geometry is merely a suggestion. The broken flow in this area really stops the game and the series overall from reaching its full potential. It's kind of like they got 10 feet from the finish line and said, you got it. I want to mention the backing track because it comes from a game that I almost equally love, and I've wanted a sequel or a remake for it actually just as long as I've wanted one for Pokemon Snap, and that's the title music from Yu-Gi-Oh! The Forbidden Memories. Thanks for listening. I hope you'd enjoyed this brief, deep dive into what makes video games so good. I'm zombie_Rogers on Twitter and zombie without an E _plays on everything else. I'd love to collaborate with anybody else who's looking to have a creative endeavor. Thanks for listening. Ta-ta.
I guess I never knew how empty I really was until I found you. You've changed my life. And I don't know how I could go on without you, Vanessa. Myself. My real Vanessa self. Without you, what am I? Not Vanessa, because you're Vanessa. And when I'm with you, I'm Vanessa.
Hello, this is Dr. Fines, everyone's name. I wanted to contribute to the listener-only podcast, so I thought that I would go through a few things that would be useful to let you guys know, and that how your podcast has helped me, and how how some of the things in my own life are affected by some of the stuff you guys have done. And so, first of all, I just recently got my PhD, and I did so thanks to, in part, you guys, because the truth is that it took a ton of work and many years to get done, but recently I've done a whole lot of lab work. And doing the lab work was required a lot of time and long hours where I was using tiny tools and liquids and all of that stuff, and a lot of time by myself. And one of the things that really got me through it all was being able to listen to your guys' podcast. And sometimes I listen to certain games all the way through more than once, particularly ones that I like to listen to included Oblivion and Dragon Age Origins. Those were some of my favorites. And it was just a big help. Part of the problem with getting a PhD, and I'm sure I'm not the only person who's had this issue, is that you tend to end up spending a lot of time on research and leaves a lot less time for socializing. I have 4 kids and a wife, and so any extra time I had beyond my research and my full-time job was devoted towards spending time with them. So actually spending any time with any friends was pretty much out of the question. So even though this, of course, is a podcast and I'm just a listener, it was nice to actually at least feel like I had some sort of interaction, even if it was one way, with a group of people with similar interests to me. In addition, since I was working so hard, I had very little time to actually play video games. And other things, some of my kids are kind of young, so some of the older games, I can't play around them. And anyway, long story short, you guys kind of know about this already, but it was nice to kind of vicariously play video games through you while I was spending all this time doing work. It made it just a little bit easier. And another thing I wanted to talk about was that my own personal struggles with having kids and playing these video games,
Because one of the things is like, you have these little kids and they want to play on their tablets and they want to play these, makeup games, like particularly my little girls, they tend to want to play like, the ones where you paint nails and dress up kids and dress up girls and, do these really simple games that I just don't feel are really like expanding their minds in any way. And so I've been trying to get them more and more into role-playing games because it at least requires, a lot of the older ones at least require them to read, so at least they're getting something out of it. Or get them to do some, or even, just Mario or something that at least requires thinking and head-eye coordination or something. And so recently I finally got them I was playing Final Fantasy VII Remake, and I finally was able to get them they saw me playing it, and suddenly it just dawned on them that Final Fantasy is a cool thing. And so the next thing my son was asking to play World of Final Fantasy, and we got that for him. And then my two of my daughters wanted to play Final Fantasy X, so they're playing that right now. And so I was kind of excited for the success of that. And then what made me more excited was that they started getting interested in games like the original Zelda, which I had been trying to get them to play for years. I could never get my kids to just play some real video games. And so anyway, but recently they finally started getting into it, and they were even able to use the Switch's online to a system to find a Zelda and Zelda Link to the Past and start playing some of those. And one day, they were all playing these games instead of doing, all the tablet stuff. And it's like I succeeded. They are now playing real games.
Just wanted to thank everyone for your submissions, and thank you all for listening. As always, if you want to write to us, you can write to us at squarerootspodcast@gmail.com, or check us out at SquareRootsPod on Twitter, or the Square Roots Podcast group for smart, cool, very attractive people. And if you want our Discord link, send us a note on the Twitters or emails or Facebook. Bye!